does there seem to be a little bit of a lack of certainty right now? A lot of unknowns, a lot of variables bouncing back and forth. We're always in a state of change. This pandemic has led so much uncertainty, so much confusion, so much change and chaos. And what we find as business leaders is that one of the biggest keys, one of the biggest contributors to quelling some of the fear that comes from this uncertainty is transparency. Transparency is key to leaders driving business success despite change, uncertainty, and fears. Transparency is one of the most powerful tools that we have at our fingertips at all moments. It's the ability to show some vulnerability. It's the ability to show compassion. It's the ability to share our vision, our ideas with others, our fears with others, our plans with others. Transparency helps us get through the uncertainty together as a team with the best communication, the best outcomes that we can. I want to welcome you here to our LEAP weekly webinar. I'm going to keep everyone here on mute, so I appreciate you being here live. You can obviously put some questions in the chat box. I'd be happy to answer them. And I do want to let you know that LEAP Training and Coaching, we do this every week. We provide a short 15-minute webinar to the general public because what we're here to do is provide as much value, impact as many people across the globe as we can with our practices and our beliefs about leadership, about team building, chemistry, about culture, about how to make a difference in our own lives and others. And so I really appreciate you being here. LEAP Training and Coaching is a one-stop shop to professional development. We do consulting, training, and coaching in a plethora of areas around leadership, team building, and culture. And my name is Ryan Boda, and I'm one of the founding partners and lead coaches here at LEAP Training and Coaching. And I am so excited to be here today to share my passion and to really share some insight into how valuable transparency truly is amidst everything that's going on right now. Now, why do we talk about transparency? Well, first and foremost, when we look at change and we look at change management as a concept, one of the really difficult things about change is that oftentimes there's a lot of uncertainty. Despite the best plans we might lay out, the most concrete vision of where we're going, we still see the fear of uncertainty come up. We fear what might be, what ifs, and we receive a pushback from our team members, from our organizations, and from the people that we lead, a pushback to this change. Now, right now, the pushback are things like, why are we doing this? Really, again, another change? I haven't even finished the first one, right? Or maybe it's even just, what the heck are the new guidelines? I don't even know what I'm supposed to be doing. My mother is actually one of the health supervisors for one of the biggest districts, school districts in Nebraska. And she talks to me about how every week there's a new set of guidelines, recommendations, different pieces that they're trying to implement all the time, and that their teachers, their students, are struggling to keep up with all these changes. So it may be that, really, again, I didn't even finish the last one. And so, yes, we're in a moment of change and uncertainty like we have never seen before. But these principles put into practice in our companies are applicable across all eras and times. Right now, we're dealing with the change and uncertainty of a global pandemic. In another time, we may be looking at a recession. We may be looking at a change in technology, a cut in our workforce. As we look about change, transparency is the key. And the reason is more now than ever, is because Our employees have more information at their fingertips than ever before. Our phones, our computers, our internet provide us a level of transparency into almost anything we'd like access into. And so what used to be able to sweep by in the news now gets reported on very highly. And as a company, we want to make sure that our employees feel that they're on top of what's going on in our company. They understand where we are, where we're headed. There's no blind sides. There's transparency. And I want to start off by telling you a little story because it was very interesting to me to experience this with a group of very successful, strong, competent leaders at a very large hospital that we were working in. We were working with many of the directors that had applied to be in our leadership program. So we have a LEAP Leadership Institute that a company oftentimes, or a group of companies, will join in. And you actually have to apply to get into it. And these 10 made it. And so they're competent, they're ready. And as we were talking through the program about a couple months in, all of a sudden they had some budget cuts. And think about the change that was going on there. Think about the uncertainty, the fear, the pushback of budget cuts. And I talked to them about transparency. My team spoke to them about transparency. We said, transparency is key here. And tell us why you have a fear of transparency. And they said, well, I can't look weak. I can't look like I'm fearful. We said, okay, tell us more about that. And as they shared about why not, it was all about to protect my face, to keep the morale up, to not let them know that I'm afraid. We said, let's try transparency. Each one of them went back to their teams, had a meeting and said, deep breath, right? And they said, I understand that there's budget cuts going on, and I want you guys to know that I'm worried as well, that I'm looking to make sure that we can do what's best for our team and for our organization, and I am here for you guys. And I understand the fear you're feeling because I'm also feeling it. I want you to know we're a team. And they came back to our next session about a month later and they said, you are not going to believe what we experienced with our teams. I said, tell me about it. They said, the transparency we exhibited allowed our team members to feel a sense of calmness, to know that, wow, okay, if that person's worried and willing to speak up about it and say, no, here's what we're doing to work on it. They had a sense of calm and relaxation for themselves. And so what I want you to understand from that is that transparency is powerful. It allows us to break down some barriers, some silos we have, leaders versus the people they report to, breaks those things down and allows us to understand that we are all humans. We all fear. We all have doubt, judgment. It's the way we are hardwired. Our brain is literally 2 million years old and it is designed to protect us. It's designed for survival. That means it's not there to make us happy. It's not there to make us see the positive. It's there to see the negative. It's there to give us the pushback. So we have to make conscious choices to be transparent, to quell that survival brain, and allow our people to shift themselves to a point where we can connect and move forward, and that is through transparency. And a lot of times this comes from things like a lack of clarity. So a lot of transparency is about where are we right now? And where are we headed and how are we getting there? It's about clarity in the steps. As a society, we love clarity. We love to know exactly what's happening, not just general details. And this is what we as leaders have to understand. Clarity allows people to take a deep breath and understand the process that we're going through and moving forward. And so when you look at transparency, just a few weeks ago, the Big Ten, the football conference, came out and decided to cancel their football season. And they did this on their own without the other conferences as a part of it. And as you look at what unraveled over the following week to weeks, it was all about all the frustration and anger and resentment towards the decision. It was mostly about the transparency. It was about the fact that a decision was made that affected so many people, just like so many decisions we make as leaders. And the individuals affected by it didn't feel that they understood why, the transparency of it. Now, that individual, the commissioner, tried to come back and give some reasons, but you'd lost it at that point because the transparency wasn't there at the beginning. So as we navigate change, as we go about making those changes, transparency as to why, how, and what we can do together is so important to navigating change in the most effective way possible. So remember that transparency really allows us to quell that survival brain in the back of our brain right there and allow us to see the problem more clearly, to understand how we're a part of it, and to feel valued as a member who's contributing to this change. So what I think is important as a leader to understand is, first and foremost, we don't always have the answers. We don't. Is that okay? Yeah, it is. And it's okay to admit we don't know the answers. The best thing a leader can do for his team or her team is to say to them, I don't know that answer right now. Let me go to blank. Let me go to the proper people, channels. Let me gather some information on it, and I'll come back and talk to you about it. Because it's an authenticity. It's an integrity that we hold that says, we don't have to know all the answers, and we're willing to go find out for you. So number one, know that you don't have to know all the answers as a leader, but you have to be willing to work with your team to get on the same page. Number two, it's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to have fears. You're hearing me say it again. Our brain is 2 million years old. It's designed for fear. It's designed for survival. It's not designed to get along, to collaborate, to work together. No, it's designed for individual survival. And when we can take a deep breath and say, we all have fears. We're very uncertain right now. This is a really hard time. And I want you to know that I'm here with you in that process. And we're going to do everything that we can to make this as easy as possible to transition to blank. That level of vulnerability allows your organization, your department, your team to feel a sense of connection, bonding, alignment with you and your vision. And the last thing is a really incredible tool we use, but I'm really going to focus on one part of it. This tool we use is within our coaching model. It's called Look, See, Tell the Truth, Take Authentic Action. And the part I want to focus on is look and see is talking about really focusing your vision, your mental capacity on a situation. Getting rid of all those fears, the uncertainty, and being willing to look at the situation. And then the third one says, tell the truth. And this is the one I want to mention here. As we look at transparency, telling the truth is about learning how do we take out the stories, the drama, and how do we focus on the truth, the facts, the reality of what happened. That's what transparency allows us to do. We're not telling a story, the drama, the frustrations. No, we're laying out the facts. Here is the current state. Here's where we want to get to. We have a gap. And it's how we learn to provide feedback and growth oriented on behavior rather than people. So as you navigate change, what I want you to remember is that transparency is so incredibly valuable to building relationships along the process of change and allowing people a sense of calm, a sense of connection, a sense of engagement in the process because they're being included in the process through the transparency and through the connections formed in that communication. So remember, it's all about understanding that we don't have to have all the answers. We can admit that we have fears as leaders. We need to learn to tell the truth in our transparency. Understand that people want to know, have clarity about where we are and where we're headed. And if we can do that when navigating change, we can have a team that drives forward change, that is forward thinking, that is prepared for change at all times, because we understand that our leaders will be transparent with us and we are valued members of this change, of this team, and of this organization. Thank you so much for spending some time here with me on our LEAPS weekly webinar, how transparency calms uncertainty. And what I want you to know is next time, we're going to be talking next week about adaptability. Not adaptability, that was last week. Next week, we're talking about compassion. How to have compassion in change. And I'm very excited because this is one of my favorite topics to talk about, because it allows us to understand the process of change in a new way. So I hope to see you next week when we talk all about compassion. Thank you again for being here. My name is Ryan Boda, one of the lead coaches at Leap Training and Coaching. And from everyone here at Leap Training and Coaching, we appreciate you being here. Feel free to share this with others, follow our YouTube page, follow our Instagram, our LinkedIn, and we look forward to continuing to connect with you, to engage with you, and to navigate this wonderful world that we live in, this society, as we grow and develop each other. Thank you, and I look forward to seeing you next week.